Hey, BookTube, welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and it's time for another literary update. So I am off again for the next 3 days. I just love this. I love working for a few days and then having 3 days off. It's very nice. Let's talk about what I'm currently reading. Okay, so as you saw in the hopeful thumbnail, I started reading Promise of Blood again by Brian McClellan, which I'm really liking. Which completely opposite when it comes to, I don't like war stories that are like close to our world. I like fantasy war stories more because of stuff like magic and dragons and this one they're inhaling gunpowder for magic purposes, which I think is really cool. And in this one, right now we are up to the point where like another general that Tamas respects is like, no, I'm not having this. I'm not having your little rebellion, and has created his own little group, his own faction of people that are like, you're a traitor to the king, and I'm going to stop you, and like he has his own little group of followers, and this is something that his son, Tamas' son, Tanel, I still don't know how to say the names, has figured out what's going on. I mean, what this General West even has created his own little faction of people that don't like the fact that Tamas has rebelled against the king and has assassinated him and everything. And then you have this little subplot of his son he had arranged his son to marry this girl who he kind of adopted and took in, and they were like, it was an arranged marriage kind of thing because she was good with magic and so was he. But when Tanel comes back for a visit and to help his father with this rebellion, he finds out that his fiancée cheated on him, and so he hates her now and doesn't want anything to do with her. Of course, she's also a soldier as well, and so there's some tension there, and and Tanel thinks his dad is like so emotionless, and that his dad doesn't care, and I think he does blame his dad because his dad was the one that arranged this, so it kind of is his fault because he picked a girl that cheated on him. And I feel so bad for Tamas because, I imagine being in that position of being a general, you have to be a hard ass. You can't show emotion. You have to make the difficult decisions. It makes me kind of think of season 7 of Buffy, where Buffy becomes a general. She becomes a leader, and she's like, the potential slayers and her friends don't like this. They think she's different. They don't agree with her decisions, and which is not the first time that people don't agree with her decisions, but then essentially it climaxes and they kick her out of her own house, the house that she pays the bills for, and kind of turn even her own sister, which a lot of fans did not like, including myself. A lot of fans were pissed about this. But it did get Buffy to this point of isolation, and she has this beautiful moment with Spike in it. But it's kind of similar situation where they're all like, they don't like how she doesn't care. They feel like she has no feelings, and she's hard and doesn't care about them. And it's the same thing with Tamas and his son. His son feels like his father doesn't care, but he cares more than anything. That's why he's taken on this leadership role. And the same thing on Buffy, why Buffy cares, and it's her responsibility, and she cares about these potentials in her friends, and so I feel like that's unfair. And how do we know? We're not in that position. But then they have their own position, and it's hard for them too, and it's scary, and it's hard when you can't talk to someone or have an emotional connection with someone when you need it most. And I think that's what's gonna be big conflict between father and son, is that, they need this emotional connection, but the father can't because he's got to be the leader and his son is just the soldier, and he's scared, but he's trying to be tough and hard too, and not show emotions. It must be even harder for guys, because guys, society has taught men you can't be emotional because then it will make you seem like a girl, and and then you can't be seen as too soft. But so I guess these bookmarks kind of fell out too. But that's why I like the magnetic bookmarks. I'm using the "I would challenge you to a battle of wits, but I see is that you are unarmed." I'm using that quote for this book. The bookmark with that quote on it for this book, because I really like it. I think it's funny. And then before I talk about this ones, and then I also started reading. But now this book I'm reading at night, and unfortunately, I'm reading at night doesn't mean I'm in bed getting ready to go to sleep, and unfortunately either I fall asleep in the middle, I'm falling asleep, or I'm worried because I know I'm gonna have to get up at 6:45 in the morning. I can't stay up too late. It was even worse this morning because last night I had a bit of a bug or something, and so my mom was like, just in case, don't drink any milk or anything, because sometimes milk can give you indigestion problems and everything. So she's like, don't drink any milk. So I drank some like cafe mocha, so it doesn't require creamer in it. I mean, it's still kind of like hot chocolate, but it's only half the amount of caffeine. So I was a lot worse off this morning, as far as tiredness goes. But anyway, so I am reading, finally, this is the other book one of the other books I got, and I still haven't got the one from Book Depository. So right now, I'm probably not going, until this pandemic is over, I'm probably not going to order from Book Depository. I'm going to try not to order as many British books that are probably going to come from the UK. Although I'm going to get, I want to get 2 books by one of the Bronte sisters that I don't have yet. The Agnes Grey, and there's more. There's one more that was, I can't remember what it's called at the moment. But so far, you guys know I have Jane Eyre, and then I have, Villette. I found that at the roast office actually one day, before all this happened. So, anyway, but, which I was surprised by the physical size of this book. I'm like, my other books from the series are big trade paperbacks, the big floppy ones that have a little bit of weight to them. They're not as weighed down as like a hardback book, but they're a lot physically bigger than this one, which is so funny how there's so many different sizes for just the generic paperback book. There's the B paperback, there's mass market paperback, which I have a lot of those. And then there's the trade paperback, and then there's a regular size paperback. Like I said, I don't know what B paperback is. I still am not 100% sure on what that is. I know somewhere in between. Like, I don't know, is this is trade paperback or B paperback? Is that like 2 different things, or are they the same? I don't know. But anyway, this is about Julius Caesar, and it's called The Gates of Rome. And now I just started reading this, and I haven't gotten any far because of the fact I'm reading this in bed before I go to sleep. So I might read a little bit more and do my reading where I read a little bit at 10 o'clock, and so I can read a little bit more of this. But yeah, I think I might do that. I think I might do that. I might use this as my 10 o'clock book. But anyway, now I don't know if I'm going to go 10 to 11 or 10 to 12 with that. Or 10 to 11:45 or whatever time I decide, okay, I'm going to stop reading. But, so this book starts out with these two young boys, Gaius and Marcus, who have been friends for a long time. They're not yet fighters. They do dream of becoming soldiers for the Emperor of Rome, and the book starts out with them being beat the shit beat out of them by this other older boy, Suetonius, and they want revenge because the kid like tied them with I don't know what it was upside down and like I said beat the shit out of them and just caused a lot of damage, and they're all ashamed of it and embarrassed, and they're all relieved that their dad, that Gaius' dad, who's a senator, is not home. So because again, it doesn't look good when the boy gets the shit beat out of him. And so they even try to lie about it, pretend, come up with make up some story. But of course, I don't know what he is to them. Like, I guess he's their guardian or uncle or whatever until they get back. But, to Breck or something, he knows that they got the, that this other kid beat the crap out of them. And he's like, you need to learn how you need to be good trained to fight and everything. Because you're you're still not ready to actually physically fight. But the one Gaius, you gotta give the kid props. He's pretty brave. He tries to fight back. And of course, still gets the shit beat out of him. And on top of that, gets in front of Suetonius' little girlfriend. And then he decides the next time he's going to meet him in the early morning, he sets him a trap. So, my thing about that is go for it. If that's, there are some people that just aren't fighters. There are boys that aren't just fighters. So, work on what you're good at. Use your tools. Use what you're best at. And if that's, using your cleverness and coming up with little traps and stuff, then go for it. Who cares? Life ain't fair anyway, so why not? Why not cheat a little bit and set up a trap? So he sets up a trap where the kid falls in this hole and is stuck in there, and And then the last thing I read was when they go to meet these other kids in their neighborhoods, in their little town or whatever. So what comes to mind is, hey, in the show Hey Arnold, the Nickelodeon show Hey Arnold, where all the city kids would meet, at their in the middle of the street and play stickball or whatever. And I think it's kind of like that, where they all get together in the middle of this field or whatever and play discus and stuff like that, which to me is I think is just like frisbee but with a heavier disc, and sword fighting and wrestling. And the last thing I was read, they were getting ready to wrestle each other. And when I read this, I'm just at the beginning. I haven't got very far, so I don't know. When I read this, I don't know which characters are going to be important in the future, who's going to stick around. I don't know if Suetonius is going to stick around, but a lot of times the kids that bully our main characters, they stick around for a while, or they appear again later. So I'm not sure. So as I'm reading, I'm not sure who's going to be important, but I'm only on page 21 of this, and there's, I think, 300. Yep. Okay, so I'm guessing. I'm wondering if I'm guessing that. So I'm reading a little bit of the historical note, and I'm guessing that Marcus Brutus. Okay, so I'm guessing Marcus is gonna be Brutus, and the other kid, Gaius, is gonna grow up to be Julius Caesar. Because I think sometimes royals in certain countries and cultures, they have a name that applies to each generation. I think, Henry VIII, Henry the 16th.
Mommy, what are you doing upstairs?
But
You can barely come down the steps, and you're upstairs.
Sorry, that's my mom.
Come on down here right now. Come here.
Oops,
sorry, Jeff.
Well, I have the door open. Sorry, guys. But, my dog was in the room with me, and my mom just came home. Okay, so I'm guessing that Gaius is going to be Julius Caesar when he grows up, and that Marcus is going to be Brutus. Because I just read a little bit of the historical note in the last page. Doesn't really spoil anything, but like I said, this is about Julius Caesar, so. And it's the last sentence refers to Marcus as Marcus Brutus, which is the name of his friend who was the last person to stab him, according to Shakespeare's play anyway. And then I am rereading Rebecca, which is the first Daphne du Maurier book that I ever read. And I read last year, I think it was last year, I read My Cousin Rachel, which I liked it, and I might get another copy of it, because the copy I had was whatever I found at the Roast Office bookshop, and it had no dust jacket, and it was a plain hardback, blue book with the title on the spine and everything. That was kind of boring. That's boring. It's my issue with hardback books, is and why I never take out the dust jacket, because a lot of time hardback books don't have some cool design on it, one of the things I like about the Starless Sea, as far as design goes, is that when you take the dust jacket off, there's this gold emblem or something or a design on it, that's really cool. I really like that, and so I want to so I'm not going to totally give up on the, I might want to show interest in rereading it, so I just might buy, maybe a tie-in edition, because there is a movie starring Rachel Weisz and Sam Claflin, which I remember his name. I was just trying to think of his name the other day when I was watching, because he plays the prince in Snow White and the Huntsman, and then he makes an appearance in the beginning of the second movie. But of course, because of Kristen Stewart's little scandal with her little fling with the director, she essentially gets kicked out of the movie, so she's not in the second movie. So the second movie focuses on different characters. But we do see Snow White. We just don't see her face. Of her in pain because the mirror is doing something to her. Which was kind of hinted at I think at the end of the first movie, that something was going to happen with the mirror when we see her reflection in that big gold mirror thing. But Armie Hammer. So this is the 2020 movie tie-in edition, which I had thought about getting one of the other editions that has the pretty cover. One of my favorites is the one that's white and looks like a woman's handkerchief or something, and it has the letter R on it, which I really like that one. I think that one's pretty. But I don't think that one was at My Books A Million, and I imagine it would be pricey anyway, so I just got this one, because I didn't want to get the the mass market paperback one. Because I already had it, and that's why I was getting a new one, because I didn't want a mass market. I wanted a bigger one, so I got this one. And I don't totally hate the movie, as some people do, but I definitely felt like it was a disappointment. And reviewers summed it up better than I did why it was a disappointment, because I didn't know what it was. I knew that I was kind of bothered by the ending. And I feel like the movie was more romantic than the book. I remember the book being not that romantic. I remember it being a little off-putting and unnerving with the romance. And someone in a reviewer pointed out that they never kiss in the book, our main couple. But they are all smoochy in the movie. And they make it very sexy and I don't know, maybe the movie people are thinking, oh, we should make it more sexy because it won't be as good. They're not trusting the audience. That's the problem, and sometimes I excuse it and be like, well, the movie's trying to make it more romantic, because that's how, because I think there are a lot of audiences that are kind of they might not like this, how it really is, which that's so frustrating, because that's why, I try really hard not to be a book snob and everything about this, because movies are just another medium for telling the same story, but it's just a different version of the story. But I'm very frustrated because of the differences with that movie, and that people like my mom and dad and Terry, for instance, they only see the movie version. And they are like, oh, I love it and stuff, but they don't realize how the movie was very different from the book. Now, I do feel like I was just looking at reviews for Emma and stuff and comparing the different movies, which I did not know there was one made in the 70s. It looks kind of like, it kind of looked like the Jane Eyre that was made. It might have been around the same time. I thought it was in the, no, although I think it's in the 80s actually. That one, that version of Jane Eyre starring Timothy Dalton and as Rochester. I don't know who else is in it. But it kind of had a similar look to it as far as the quality goes. So, I mean, maybe it was, only like, I don't know how far apart they were. But, so, and I feel like I was just thinking about a lot of the adaptations, and I think the adaptations for Jane Austen novels are pretty close as they can get within, although I think the best ones are miniseries when they make a miniseries. Now this one can get away with being a movie. Like I said, the issue wasn't that it wasn't. Well, although I don't know, because some of the criticisms of the reviewer gave were that they changed a lot of, they didn't just change things. They just focused on certain characters, and I don't know if it had to do with the length or what, but. So, anyway, in case you don't know, I mean, I just realized I didn't really explain what this book is about, but we have an unnamed narrator who she's being paid to be a companion for this woman, Miss Van Hopper, and they are currently in Monte Carlo, and there's this rich guy, Maxim de Winter, who his wife died, but there's suspicions on her death like a year before. And he's visiting Monte Carlo, and Miss Van Hopper, along with everybody else in the world, is fascinated by this guy, wants to know everything about him, and there's all this gossip about what happened to his wife, and they're fascinated by his home, Manderley, and our narrator doesn't really know, like, she does talk about a postcard she once bought that had Manderley, a picture of Manderley on it, and, like, when she bought it, the saleswoman was like, "Are you kidding me? You don't know what this is?" And she meets Maxim, and he's intrigued by her. He kind of likes her and finds her different from everybody else. He finds she's a bit naive, innocent. I think, if anything, he pities her a little bit. And he thinks she's pretty and everything, and he likes her, and he likes her but I think he also kind of pities her. And while Miss Van Hopper is sick, they spend a lot of time together in Monte Carlo that last week. But then, eventually, when Miss Van Hopper is feeling better, is like, I want to go early and stuff. And this girl is at Miss Van Hopper's beck and call. He's all like, okay, fine, well, let's get married. And you can come with me to Manderley. And she's all jumping at the chance because she thinks she's in love with this guy. Although my thing is, I think she's just really into him and really infatuated by him. She goes to Manderley, where she's constantly being reminded of his first wife and how amazing she was, and how she threw all these lavish parties, and she was so beautiful, and everyone loved her, especially Miss Danvers, the housekeeper, who was really creepy and and weird. And I think this movie kind of implied that there was a romantic attachment between Miss Danvers and Rebecca. I don't remember if that's in the book or not, but I'm going to find out. But this is just such a fascinating story, and I think it was inspired by Jane Eyre a little bit in the romances. Now there are differences, obviously, and I'll have to think about this again. But when I first read it, I thought about the differences between Maxim de Winter and Rochester, and I do not remember Rochester's first name. I think they mentioned it once or twice. I mean, in those books, in those novels of that time period, like Austen and Bronte's novels or Glasgow's novels, they might mention, especially in Austen's novels, they will mention the first name of the main love interest or any of the other male characters like once, and then that's it. You're just Mr. Elton, Mr. Knightley, and Mr. Churchill, except for Frank Churchill. We get his first name the whole time, every time. I don't know why she gave. I guess because he's such a significant character and he causes a lot of chaos in this for Emma and everybody. But this is and I liked the actors. I think one of the reasons why I was willing to give the movie more credit is I liked the casting. Christine Scott Thomas is awesome. I like her. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of her, but I've seen enough that I know she's a great actress. And she's one of those, like those actors that's just, like, people, know who she is. And she's not part of that club in California of actors like Brad Pitt and Julia Roberts and all that, but she's, like, in a more elite club in Hollywood. Okay, that's just my imaginings of it. But this is just so, like, but this is such a good, and I really want people like I probably won't get my parents to read it, but I would love to get Terry to read it, because there's so much more to the story than what the movie offers, and it's so different from the movie. Sometimes I wonder if you watch an adaptation first, because I know that does happen. Sometimes I wonder if that kind of influences your perspective on the book. You see things that were in the movie but aren't in the book. Like, I wonder if that would influence her reading of it because she saw the movie first. I would be curious to watch the Hitchcock movie too, because Hitchcock, it was kind of his first. I think from what I've heard, it's the movie that set him on the map. Is Rebecca, when he made his version of Rebecca. So I'd be kind of curious to watch that one, but I don't know if I would be able to. Like, I believe my sister has a bunch of Hitchcock films in one big thing, kind of like I have all of Chaplin's films in one thing, and so I'm wondering if Rebecca is in there. I should ask my sister if it is. I should ask her because we're gonna see her this spring. I'm gonna have to ask her that too, if she's ever was she interested in, did she ever watch Rebecca? Well, I might know if she did. I mean, the hard part, I think, is it's hard for her and Ryan to watch adult movies, though. Like, I think they can watch adult movies, like, in the evening when the kids go to bed, but I think it's harder for them to watch adult movies, unless the kids aren't around, because, of course, they can't watch these movies in front of the kids. And the kids aren't gonna want to watch them, they'll get bored. But anyway, I'm gonna read a little bit more. It looks like I'm gonna have to read it after dinner, or maybe, well, I guess probably after I'm done filming, I can read a little bit, and then read some more after dinner as well, and then take a break, and then around 10 o'clock I want to start reading this one as well, and then, maybe I'll read one of these in bed. I don't know which one. Maybe Promise of Blood, I'll read it now. That will be my read in bed. Especially because it really helps when the print is big. And this is big print. There's big, that really helps, because, like, small print is not good for when your eyes are really tired and you can't keep your eyes open, but if it's big print, that could potentially help. So those are the books I'm going to focus. I will come back to Way of Kings. I might come back to it during one of these 3 days off. I don't know. But I'm trying to focus on this. I particularly want to get Rebecca done by the end of the month. Unfortunately, because I had that little bug last night, I didn't do any reading last night. I tried to read a little bit of Promise of Blood at work, but, I only read during my 15-minute break. So I didn't do any much reading yesterday. So I'm going to, but there's still hope, because it's only the 20th of February, so I could still get this done in 9 days. Yeah, 9 days, because, well, 10, I guess 10 if it as the well, I guess 9 now, because today's almost over, so 9 days. Yeah, so 9 days. So I'm going to try to get this done within 9 days. It doesn't look too hard. I probably could, but there are some chapters that may be really long. But like I said, my plan is to make a big dent in it this weekend, or the next, well, tomorrow, this weekend will be right now, so Sunday through Wednesday, I guess. So I have to double check on that. It might be, I don't know. Actually, no, I think it's Sunday through Tuesday, and then I got back on work on Wednesday, I think. Because it was last week where I had off until Thursday, which makes sense, because Thursday is our busiest day, and I think they try to get almost everybody working on Thursday. And so I don't know if I have Wednesday off, so I'm gonna have to double check on that and see. I think I just have up until Wednesday, and then I go back to work on Wednesday. So again, sorry about the interruption. Like I said, my mom had just come home and my dog, Sophie, was upstairs, and fortunately she's an old girl. Both her and Rascal are getting pretty old, so my mom was kind of surprised that she followed me upstairs. Because she's, she can't, she's had trouble in the past with her legs and climbing up the stairs, and, so, of course, poor doggies there. And my dad just reminded me that one day those two will be gone. That kind of made me sad. But I'm not going to sorry to leave you guys on a sad note. So, if you guys like this video, be sure to give a thumbs up, click subscribe, and click the bell notification below if you want to be notified when I post new videos. I would love to hear what you are currently reading. Please continue to wear your mask, because we are not done with this thing. And even if you, like I said, even if you don't believe in the virus and think there's no point in the mask, the rest of us do. The rest of us it will make the rest of us more comfortable if people continue wearing masks in public. And to stay 6 feet apart from people, wash your hands, use hand sanitizer, and be kind to everyone, or as kind as you can be. Alright, bye!